Welcome back to the Manor. Julian McBain here, and we are back with Personal Finance for Gamers and hunting all these Panleons. Today we're going to talk about strategies to build the savings that you're using the savings habit to build. And this is really important because the strategy you use will help dictate, should be based on how you personally can best do things. All of us have different personalities. Figure out what works best for your personality and run with it. But the strategy you use based on your own circumstances will determine how successful you are at actually building your savings. And so we're going to go through 3 strategies, all of which have their pros and their cons, and we're going to go through those pros and cons too. And full disclosure, I have used each of these strategies at some point in my financial journey. So when I say these things, they are coming from personal experience. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, welcome to the Manor. Please take a moment and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, 1 subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. Also, please consider going to patreon.com/JulianMcBain if you want to support my work. If you do, you'll get exclusive content. By the time this video drops, the January exclusive should have also already dropped, so make sure you go check that out. We will be releasing, patrons will also have exclusive access to the Boneworks raw footage. The edited footage for the series, the Let's Play Boneworks series, will be coming out on this channel in the near future. Almost done. I'm stuck on the final puzzle. As of the recording of this video, by the time this releases, I'm hoping to be done it. And then the editing starts. So if you want access to all that raw footage, all of the mistakes and the redos and all of that, please become a patron and go check all of that out. Okay. So in previous videos, we talked about building the savings habit and the mindset you need in order to overcome the difficulties that come with starting out. So now, in order to help you with that, we're going to talk about strategies to build your savings up. And there are really 3 methodologies that work really well. And you can complexify it, make it more complicated if that's what you like to do. I don't necessarily recommend it, because the more complex you make your financial situation, the more opportunities for mistakes there are. But there are going to be some more pieces to this as we move on, and I'm going to touch on them briefly at the end of this video. But today we're strictly talking about savings accounts. We're not talking about investments. We're not talking about commodities. We're not talking about anything like, real estate or anything like that. We'll touch briefly on that and how that complexifies things at the end of this video. But the bulk of this video is based on strictly managing savings accounts. Okay. Obviously, you know that building a savings habit is 100% worthwhile. You can't become financially successful if you don't have some sort of a savings habit. You can overcome a lot just by increasing your income over and over and over again and having like a ridiculous amount of income. But if you don't know how to retain money, you're just going to keep spending it like water. So even if you don't have a huge amount of savings because you've got an absurdly high income, you still want to have the ability to have enough set aside for a couple of months in case you're laid up. It only takes 1 car accident for you to be out of work for 6 months. Okay? You need to make sure you have the financial backup to do it. And we're going to get into part of that too when we go into the insurance section, which is many videos away. Yes, we are going to cover insurance. Sorry. But we're not going to cover that today. But the primary goal should be to have a couple of months' salary saved up, liquid cash, so that if something goes wrong, you have the financial backup ready to access. So, what are the 3 primary strategies we're going to review today? You've got the 1 bank strategy, you've got the 2 bank strategy, and you got the EAP strategy. And you can add more banks as you go if you really want to. Not necessarily recommended because then you might confuse banks. It's easier to have 2 banks or 1 bank where you've labeled your savings accounts. And it's hard for any one banker to get a good picture of your financial situation if they're trying to give you advice on how maybe to tweak your personal financial plan in order to better grow your savings or your financial balance sheet. And yes, you should talk to your banker about your finances. These videos are not the end-all be-all. Eventually, the data in them will become dated. 2 plus 2 will always equal 4, so the broad strokes will always be true. But just like Think and Grow Rich has a lot of outdated information in it, even though it is a vital book for anyone to read, and I mean that, it doesn't mean that all the information in there is going to be applicable to today's world, because a lot of things that we have today did not exist when Napoleon Hill wrote that seminal work. And a lot of the things that were common back then, and the people that were alive back then, are dead or don't work in today's world, the digital era. So, please, if you don't talk to your banker at least twice a year to review budgets and things like that, go right now, pick up your phone, call your banker. If you don't have a banker, get a banker. This is part of their job. And if you're at a bank where the bankers don't do this, find a different bank. So, okay. Let's start with the one bank strategy. The one bank strategy is just that. You put all your money into a single bank. The biggest benefit to this is it's the easiest to set up and maintain. All your money's in one place. If an emergency happens, it's easily accessible. You're not trying to drive around town. The banker in front of you has the full financial picture, so they know exactly what to recommend or what you need to have. And auto transfer can make savings really, really easy. So this is a good strategy. This is the first strategy you should use no matter what. In most cases, this helps you build up the habit to ensuring that you have that savings, even if you're in a position where you have to dip into it every month, because it's not because you're not trying to build the habit, because you're running so close to the wire that unfortunately you just can't save the full $5 a month or any money in a month. At least you've got the transfers going. You're building the habit up as best you can. The downside to the one bank strategy is you have ready access to all that money. So the thing that is a strength is also an inherent weakness. If you have access to money, you're going to be tempted to use it. You're going to be like, I have $100 in savings and I really want that MacGuffin. So what if I just use some of it? Oh, I only have $7 left. I may as well go to Starbucks. Get lunch. See how easy that is? And you just had to transfer it. Easy transfer. So this is where the one bank strategy has its failings, because it makes it too easy to access the money. Now again, this is where you should start. This is where almost everybody starts. You use this to build the strategies, to build the skill of saving in the short term. Then you can move on to one of the other two strategies. What's strategy number 2? That's the two bank strategy. And again, this is where you can complexify it and have like 5 banks. Don't do that. 1, it's irritating to you, and 2, it's irritating to all the bankers. So, two bank strategy. You have your checking and perhaps an emergency savings or a primary flex savings that you use for if you have extra money at the end of the month, you just stuff it in there in case you're short the next month. And then at a second bank, you only have a savings account. And with the savings account, you take your $5 a paycheck, you drive it over to that bank, and you deposit it. What are the benefits to this? Harder to access. You can't just auto transfer it or use an electronic transfer from bank 1 to bank 2 and have it instantaneous. If you are able to do that sort of bank to bank transfer, it's going to take days. 2, because you're not there all the time or always looking at your app, you don't think about the money. Out of sight, out of mind. You're just making your deposits. You get your statements once a month. You build a little bit of interest. Life is good. You know, your penny a year. Downside. When an emergency happens, hard to access, especially if you're injured or laid up. This is one of the things where if you have a financial emergency, you can drive to the branch and go get your money out. If you have a medical emergency, you can't. And that makes dealing with it a lot harder. Now, to be fair, in most cases, you're dealing more with insurance than savings. But for a lot of people, the savings is what's they're self-insured, i.e. they don't have insurance. So that's where there could be a downside to this two-bank strategy. overall, the two bank strategy or some variation of it is the better strategy for those of you who are in the working class or middle class. And the reason for it is out of sight, out of mind. Out of sight, out of mind. You just place it away. Now this leads into the third strategy, which is the EAP strategy. This is a hybrid. This is a variant of the two bank strategy because all of the EAPs have to be backed by some national bank. The one I'm going to go through a specific app. This is not a paid promotion. This is the app I use. The name of the app is called Long Game. The app is attached to a bank account, two bank strategy. Every month I transfer my savings money into it. I can see how much is in there. The app itself is gamified, so you earn coins just by in-game currency by having real money in your bank account. And then you can do the various gambling games that you gamble the in-game currency, not your real money, and you can win real money. You can also win a headache, but it's a lot of fun. I log into it once a day. I look at it for 10-15 minutes and I'm done for the day. Just go through all of its processes, check on my balance, and you're good. And using Long Game, the EAP strategy, helped me pay down debt, has built up enough so that if I have an emergency, I have the money set aside. And it took years. I started with them back 2018. And it's 2022 and I'm finally in that position. So it does take time. You gotta grind, just like in the last video. It takes time, be willing to grind. And so using this strategy, you get the benefits of the two bank strategy, you get the drawbacks of the two bank strategy, but you also have fun with it. It's gamified. You get to we're all gamers, right? It's personal finance for gamers. If you're not a gamer, I'm surprised you're watching my videos. Thank you for watching. But the target audience of these videos happens to be gamers. And if you're a gamer, gamification will only encourage you to save money. So, multiple accounts. There's something called the savings bucket strategy, okay? And that's where you have different buckets of money that are dedicated to different things. You have the bucket that's your emergency fund. You have the bucket that's your FU money. You have your vacation fund. You have the TV fund or the computer fund. This is a good strategy to use. It functions really well. You put a little bit into each bucket, and if something goes past you, you only have to extract from a single bucket if you're lucky. Or you can do it evenly across all buckets. Either way, you can continue saving towards a goal without having to worry about whether or not you have access to the money. Keep the number of buckets you have to 4 or less. If you do any more than that, you're way overcomplicating your life and your savings. You're going to have to spread your savings money way too thin. It's going to take you a lot longer to achieve a goal. Have a bucket. Present a goal for it. When you fill it up, you complete the goal, rename the bucket for the next goal. That's how you do it. No more than 4 at a time. And honestly, 1 or 2 is better beyond your emergency savings bucket. So, okay. This is a shorter video because the strategies themselves are fairly simple. It's really important that you keep it simple, stupid. The KISS method works in everything walk of life, especially money. But there is a time in your life when things are going to get more complicated. And so we need to talk about that. Starting in, I believe it's going to be the next video, we're going to start talking about investments. And none of that will be construed as financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. None of these videos are financial advice. They're strictly educational. However, there are different things, tools you can use in order to facilitate starting to build up that future. Other e-apps include things like Robinhood or Stash that allow you to do fractional shares that allow you to start building investment dollars. Just like starting a savings, the more that you do it, the faster it builds up. Okay? Either one of those apps works really well. I use Stash personally, but that doesn't mean Robinhood or any of the other apps aren't good. It's just that was my personal choice. Also, buying commodities, gold, silver, platinum, palladium, whatever. Also, there's a lot of value in doing that, whether it's physical or you use an e-app like Glint. Once again, I am not being paid by Glint as a sponsorship. They just have a product that I use. You transfer money over, you buy gold. When you have enough gold ounces in your account, they'll actually ship them right to you. Alternatively, you can just let them manage it. This complicates your finances because you've got more spaces to spread around. On the other hand, it's more diverse. And when you're at the point where you have all of those things, then you should be fine anyway. So we're going to get into a lot of the mechanics of these things starting in the next section. But I just wanted to cover that. This is where you have the 3, 4, 5 buckets issue. So like you've got your investment bucket that's separate from your savings buckets. You have your inflation hedge. That would be like the gold. Because that's what commodities are. They're an inflation hedge. I'll have a whole video on commodities. But essentially, they're a hedge against inflation, which right now is a really damn good thing to have. You'll even have a crypto bucket, I'm sure. And I would be surprised if the vast majority of people watching this don't have some crypto. In any case, just remember, the more complex you make it, the more complex it is. Oh, crap. Looks like we need repairs. So, all right, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. We are on the road to 13 million subscribers, one subscription at a time, so make sure you subscribe. And as always, I really appreciate the support, and we'll see you in the next one. Huge shout out to my patrons. Please consider becoming a patron, patreon.com/JulianMcBain.